Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, only a few weeks remain before this year comes to an end and the 1st of January will bring about the new International Year on Biodiversity. The decision by the UN General Assembly to declare 2010 the Year of Biodiversity is in many ways a perfect timing. Climate change has been the focus of many international discussions during the last few years, and particularly during the last few weeks. We have focused on the challenge of climate change. Sometimes in the context of these discussions, the issue of biodiversity, the challenge of loss of species, of habitat degradation, the loss of ecosystems, has in the minds of some taken second order. I do not believe that this will eventually turn out to be true, because in the context of climate change we have also begun to address some of the fundamental services that nature provides us with, not least in terms of our ability to cope with climate change, the concept of ecosystem resilience, the important role of biodiversity, and indeed the vital role that nature plays also in the context of mitigation and adaptation to climate change. Hopefully the decisions in Copenhagen will give the world greater reason to pay attention to the issues of biodiversity. But we know at this point in time that still in the minds of many in the public, but also in governments, in the circles of economic and financial policymakers, the issue of biodiversity conservation, the loss of species, the loss of habitats, has not yet gained the attention and priority that we believe it should have. The work that is currently ongoing in terms of the project on the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity has already provided the Convention on Biological Diversity and many who are working on these issues with some vital facts and analysis. We know that in the run-up to the Conference of the Parties next year, many more reports will be published that will make the link between biodiversity conservation, economic success of nations, and also human well-being. I hope that through the United Nations having declared 2010 the International Year on Biodiversity, we will find the same level of interest and the same level of engagement and the same level of public activity that we have seen in the run-up to the climate conference in Copenhagen. The Biodiversity COP next year in Nagoya presents a unique moment where many of the lessons of recent years, but also the shifting of the paradigm in how we will address biodiversity in the coming decade, will take center stage. We have a great deal more science at our disposal. We have a great deal more understanding also in the public minds about the linkages between human well-being and biodiversity and the healthy ecosystems on which we depend. But our work has not even begun in terms of trying to transform that knowledge into consequences. Our ability to turn the year 2010 into a new platform, and essentially perhaps into a platform for the next decade, of bringing the same level of scientific rigor, economic analysis, public awareness, and above all policy action to the topic of biodiversity will in many ways depend in terms of what we can do over the coming months. In the United Nations Environment Programme, we have committed ourselves to working together through the Convention, but also with all the NGOs, private sector and public entities, to make this year a unique event. Many activities have been planned, many initiatives will be taken, and I'm sure also with the Conference of the Parties planned for next year in Nagoya, we will have a unique moment to draw all of these together. I hope that as you prepare to launch the International Year on Biodiversity, you will see the enormous and wide array of opportunities, of partners and initiatives that can help us realize that objective. I hope that the launch now in Montreal will be a successful one, and we in UNEP look forward to working with all of you during the coming months. Thank you.